What's going on, guys? This is Dave Mate from Yerba Mate Land. Check us out at yerbamateland.com. Today, I'm going to be presenting roughly 10 different types of yerba mates, 10 types of mate you need to know about. These are the most popular brands, more or less, of yerba mate throughout the world. Now, of course, as you may know already, yerba mate is highly concentrated in the southern cone region of South America. That's Argentina, Uruguay, southern Brazil, and practically Paraguay as well. So let's jump into it. Let's discuss some of these mates that I have an intimate relationship with, apart from one, which is Shimango. Hopefully somebody will jump on into this conversation and talk about that. If not, I'll just share some information that I have on that, but that's the only one that I haven't tried as of yet. So let me set this up so I can share my screen with you guys, and we'll begin talking about these yerba mates. Okay. I hope you guys can see this. This is Krauss Yerba Mate. This is one of the first brands that I fell in love with. Krauss Yerba Mate. When I was living in Argentina in 2009 to 2012, one day I walked into a health food market and Krauss was just popped out in front of me. What's going on, Steven? We're just talking about Krauss.
Awesome.
Cool. So I'll just tell my story how when I was in Argentina and I walked into a health store and I was looking for an organic mate. This was the first organic mate that I ever found. I kind of fell in love with it at the time. And just to talk about some of the tastes of this particular mate, it's not too intense. It's pretty much a light body mate, maximum a medium body mate. It has some citrus tones to it, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of orange peel. It doesn't have a lot of polvo, it doesn't have a lot of dust, and it's just a very simple mate. If you're looking for an organic yerba mate, especially if you're in South America, in Argentina, definitely try Krauss. If you want to get it, if you live in the States or if you live in England, you could definitely get this mate online from yerbamate.com, from EcoTeas, which has the yerbamate.com domain, and I believe that you could get it from the Euroshop in United Kingdom. Have you ever had this one, Steven?
I have not. That's one of the few brands out of the list that I've actually not tried.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. I haven't had it in a long time, but when I was living out in Argentina, this was my mainstay mate.
Cool.
So I'm just going to run through this list, and if you've tried any of these, definitely share your input.
Yeah.
The next one, let's jump to one that you probably have. Oh, okay. Now that I got you on, we'll talk about this one.
Okay.
You're the master on this one, so I'll let you explain to everybody what's going on with this mate. What are some of the taste profiles? What are some of the characteristics of it?
Yeah, I mean, very, very traditional, bright green. Very nice herbal notes, grassy notes. And I just realized my video's not working.
Oh, is it? Is it because how I set it up, or?
I don't think so, because it's working for other people.
Working for me.
Let me try quitting and then joining back in.
No problem. Clark, what do you have to say, man, about Shimango? I know you're all about this mate too.
Yeah, Shimango. Yeah, it's super good, super fresh, green, really grassy taste.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not even comparable to any other mate, as far as Uruguayan and Argentine mates.
Right.
So it's super good. I mean, not my first choice for Brazilian mate, but definitely a good option for starters, especially since it's one of the few that's readily available here in the U.S. So.
Mm-hmm. And how would you compare it to, say, like a mate like, I don't know if you ever had Cruz Organica, or even something like Cruz de Malta?
it's hard to
Totally
compare
different
it.
situation.
The what?
It's just basically a totally different situation. This sort of mate.
Yeah, completely different. It's like trying to compare a mango to an orange kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like they have their good qualities and they're both very unique. Uh, Man, I wish there was. I mean, I guess the only thing that's really similar between those kinds is that you know, they have the grassy, earthy taste, but the kind that Shimango has is it's just a lot fresher.
Right. And what about the different types of Shimango? Are there? I see this one says traditional, but are there other grades or other varieties of it?
Yeah, there's the Shimango, the Nativo, um, which is another variety. It's I've never tried it. I think Steven has.
Mm-hmm.
I heard it's a little richer, kind of a deeper grassy taste.
Mm-hmm. And this is also similar to a Barao. I don't know how to pronounce that. The
The what?
Barao mate.
Oh, Baron.
Barao.
Um,
Barao.
um, by far my favorite mate. It was the
Barao.
first one I ever tried when I was in Brazil, and that's all I drank when I was down there. Oh man, it's been so long since I've had it. Steven, how would you describe Baron as opposed
Barão.
to Shimango?
Um, I think Barão just overall, it's just kind of a darker, more earthy, more pungent.
Mhm.
Shimango's a bit on the weak side, but on the wimpy side.
Right.
Yeah, compared to Baron, definitely.
Yeah.
So this is a good starting point for somebody that wants to get into Shimahao. I never pronounced that right. Mate, Yerba mate. Is this a good starting point for people?
Oh, for sure, definitely.
Right on. All right, so I'm going to jump to one that I'm sure both of you have tried. Cruz. Cruz de Malta.
Mm.
What do you guys think about this mate?
I personally actually don't like it very much.
Mhm.
I've tried it. I've tried it a lot. I've tried to like it, but I've always just found that it just tastes a little too almost dusty to me, even without without a lot of polvo. Just the flavor just tastes dusty to me. I'm not sure what it is.
Right.
Hmm.
Kind of just a little off-putting for you. What about you, Clark? Frozen?
Oops.
I had it. Sorry. I tried it last year, and I thought it was pretty good. You know, it's definitely a good beginner's mate for people that enjoy mate but don't like it, too strong or too bitter. It's a pretty mild flavor.
Right. This mate,
I remember
I
this
have
being super good. So
what was that? I'm sorry, Clark, what were you saying? I cut you off.
oh no, you're good. You're good. I was done.
Yeah. Yeah, this mate I've had like a love-hate relationship with. At one point, it was my favorite mate back in 2010, I would say, when I started drinking it. Only because it was one of the first mates that I was able to contrast Krauss Organica with. This one had like a more earthy. This was the first mate that ever had like an earthy taste to me that I've ever experienced. So I was pretty intrigued with it. And then after I found out about more brands, I kind of just left this one alone. But
Okay.
I enjoy it from time to time. But I wouldn't say that it's go-to for me. But for many people, this is their favorite mate in the world. This is like their only mate that they would drink. I guess I could understand that. It's a decent mate, but nowadays I'm definitely not as drawn to it as much.
I think my problem with Cruz is I discovered it right after I came back from Brazil, and I was trying to find Chimarrão where I was living, and I couldn't find any, but I found Cruz, and I tried it, and I expected it to taste like Chimarrão, but it didn't, and it was so different that I think I've associated that just like disappointment and negativity toward it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've come back to it, I've tried it, and out of all the Argentine yerbas, I think it's my least favorite that I've tried.
Isn't that funny how that happens? Like when you start to drink a mate, and you just stick with it for a while, and then you drink another mate, and it's just like, wow, this is crazy. I was so used to this one mate. Now I'm trying another one, or one that I haven't had in a while, and it tastes like you're not even drinking mate. Like it's something totally different.
Oh
Does that
yeah,
ever happen with you
exactly.
guys?
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yep.
interesting.
Yeah, the first mate I ever had after I got back from Brazil was I got a kilo of Canarias and a kilo of Rosamonte, and I hated it. It was disgusting. I just too like it was like really bitter, really strong. I wasn't used to that aged, earthy flavor, and it was too much for me. Like it made me sick to my stomach. That's how
Wow.
bad I reacted to it. But
Yeah. That happened to me with
so
Eco Teas. I used to drink the original, the Eco Teas original, and I loved it from at one point. And then I started drinking other things, like I don't know, like Nobleza Gaucha and other mates. And when I came back to Eco Teas original, I just couldn't palate it for some reason. I just couldn't handle it anymore. The taste wasn't there for me. So it's interesting how your palate evolves and seems to kind of de-evolve, and it almost has a mind of its own at some time.
yeah.
Yeah, I had a very similar reaction the first time I tried Canarias. Like I drank it and I just like sputtering, coughing. It was so strong. Now, I'm pretty used to it. But I think the only time I've actually gotten sick was I was in Brazil and I accidentally bought an herb that came with sugar in it. Like it actually had sugar pre-mixed into the herb, and it also had a bunch of other. It was like one of those blends where it comes with like 3 teas and it had sugar in it. And I made it, and it was.
Oh
When I
wow.
drank it, I could just like tell like it wasn't great. I drank it a little bit, maybe like half a liter, but then like that night I actually like got sick and like threw up. It just did not sit well with my stomach.
That's crazy. What do you guys
Needless
think
to
about
say, I don't like sweet mate.
you don't like sweet, you just pure amargo all the way.
Yeah.
I hear that. What about you guys? What do you guys think about Canada? It's probably the most recognized hallmark brand of Uruguay, but it's grown in Brazil, like all Uruguayan mate. I know there's a lot of fanatics around this particular brand. I particularly like it, but I can't. This is not one of the mates that I could drink every day personally. It's once in a while for me. What do you guys think about this one? Anybody?
It's one of my favorites. It's pretty satisfying. It's got a bold flavor. It might not last, as many cycles as some of them, but yeah, I definitely think it's a good rich flavored mate.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my top 4.
Yeah, solid brand. Clark, what do you think about this one? Canadias.
I really like it. Like you, I don't drink it that often, probably once or twice a week. I usually drink it in the mornings if I really need like a good boost, because it really gets me going fast. It really gives me that energy boost. So that's kind of
Now,
how I
would a
use it.
person who's like a traditional Shimaho enthusiast, would they appreciate something like Canadias or no? It would be totally offensive to their palate.
It's I know gauchos that drink it and they think it's okay, but for the most part they hate it.
Uh-huh.
It's just so different from Brazilian mate that it's just there's no way for them to really enjoy it because they're so used to that fruit.
So I'm assuming the Brazilian mate doesn't have that like rich
So,
malty flavor like Canadias has. This sort of like dark beer, rich, pungent, sort of earthy flavor that this has. Because I've never had Shimango, so I can't really contrast it at all with Canadias.
It definitely has an earthiness and a bitterness, but Canarias, I think, just with the addition of smoke, it just turns it into a whole different beast. They actually do sell Canarias in Brazil, but a lot of the like the major mate companies, including like Barão, they will actually sell an herb like Canarias in that style, and they will market it as Uruguayan style mate to sell kind of as a niche product for those who like it, but
yeah,
it's definitely not common.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah. I've had the Barão type, the Uruguayan style, and it's actually pretty good. It's different from Canarias. It's a little more mild, not as bitter, but
Yeah, I've had it too. I would agree with that statement.
Yeah.
Right. All right, let's jump on over to. I don't know if you guys have had this. A lot of people haven't had this yet. The La Merced. Maybe we'll just talk about La Merced in general because they have about 4 or 5 different varieties. This one being the organic one. This one, I recommend this mate, and I've done it in the past for many people, just the new mate drinkers. Why? Because it kind of eases your way in, this sort of mate. It's just so light-bodied. There's nothing really mysterious about it. It's almost slightly watery, in my opinion. But I think it's good to get people, acquainted with mate, only because it doesn't really hit you in the face, so to speak, like Cruz or Mission or Canarias, those brands that kind of pack that punch. This one's just really soft-spoken, really light, and it kind of just gets you in. It eases you in. What do you guys think about this? I don't know if you guys have had this. No,
I've had the purple La Merced, the De Monte. I don't know if it's an organic one. It's just La Merced. It says I don't think it says anything about being organic because I think it's one of the imported ones. But I like it. I like it to mix with like fruitier flavors. Like I talked to you, Dave, earlier about how about drinking like mate and grapefruit and stuff. I like drinking La Merced in the grapefruit because it does have that kind of milder flavor profile, so it plays well with other strong flavors. I feel like if you try to mix in really strong flavors like citrus with certain mates, they kind of butt heads and compete. But La Merced's so gentle and smooth, I think it plays well with a lot of other kind of more bold flavors.
Yeah, I agree. I know La Merced has another one called Barbacoa. Basically, they're smoked mate. I've had it a couple times. I appreciate it. I think it's pretty decent. And they have another one called, I think it, don't quote me on it, De Campos of the camp. I guess that's their sort of rustic mate. I've had it a couple years ago. I can't really speak about it now because I don't recall exactly how it tasted. Only that it had an interesting taste. It kind of tasted a little bit like this sort of sweet wood component to it. That's all I remember. But for those of you guys who are watching this and see this company, La Merced, I believe that Las Marias produces La Merced mate, and Las Marias is the largest mate producer in the world. They actually control 80% of the mate market in Argentina, at least. And probably on a global scale, they probably control over 50% of the market. That would be my guess. And they produce about 5 or 6 different labels of mate, maybe more. Probably closer to 10. I think another brand that they produce is Union Suave.
Okay.
And I don't know if you guys have ever had Union. It wasn't on my list to talk about, but if any of you guys have had it, I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
I've only had it once, and it was a long time ago, so I don't really remember anything about it.
So Union, basically, in my opinion, that's another beginner's mate. It's very light, especially if you get the Suave one, which means smooth or light, basically it means. And if you're just new to mate and you kind of want to ease yourself in, definitely go to Union Suave. Light, it's pretty tasty. The only problem with it is that it has a short cycle. What that means for our listeners out there, the cycle essentially is how well does the mate hold up with the hot water? How many cycles, how many turns can you drink from the board without the mate becoming watery? And usually I consider a mate that has a long cycle if it lasts at least 3/4 of 1 liter of mate, if you're drinking it the traditional way. If it lasts around half, it's about a mid-cycle, and if it's less than half, I call that a short cycle. So La Merced is definitely one of those that with a short cycle, but it is tasty. Let's jump to another mate. Let's see if you guys have all had, I'm sure probably everybody has had this, Rosamonte. What do you guys think about this guy, this beast?
Yeah, definitely a thumbs up on it. And most of the people I've introduced you to found it pleasant also. So it's got a wide appeal, I believe. It's got some good body, a little bit of smokiness.
What about the Special? Have you had that one?
Yeah, that's the one that's actually the only one I've done.
Right. Anybody else ever have Rosamonte?
Yeah, I've had Rosamonte.
I've had this.
We got a little relay.
Go ahead, Steven.
No, you go, Clark.
All right. So yeah, I've had Rosamonte Suave and Especial. I prefer the because it was one of the after I got back from Brazil, so I can't really. It's been a while. I
I'm
had
sorry,
the
Claude, you
Especial
broke up
just
for a
about
second. Did you prefer the Especial?
I prefer the Suave.
Oh, the Suave.
The Especial is really bitter, really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Suave is a little smoother taste. You know, a little smoky, but not too overpowering. So
Right.
definitely prefer the Suave.
Stephen, which one did you relate to? If you ever, obviously you've had it before. Did you have the Suave or the regular or the Especial?
I've only ever had the regular actually, and I think it's really comparable to almost like a kind of Cruz's meaner, stronger older brother. The leaf cut's very similar, kind of the smell. I feel like the nose is very similar to Cruz, but the flavor I think is a lot better. I think it has a much it definitely is a lot smokier. I think not so smoky that it's offensive, but you know it's got that good mix. It's got almost like kind of coffee notes in it. It's got some like chicory almost in the back. I like it a lot more. Out of the Argentine lattes, it's one of the ones I prefer drinking.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how long they aged it, but to me it seems like a more sophisticated, refined taste, at least the Especial. I don't know, I'm from Kentucky and they drink a lot of bourbon up there. To me, it almost reminds me of a nice,
Some Buffalo Trace?
in terms of its character. You know, I have a lot of, I guess, sophistication of flavor maybe. I get a few more strains of flavor in it than I do a lot of the other strains.
Right. Yeah, Rosamonte Especial is the one that I could really call to mind right now. And this is, I have a lot of first experiences. And just another one, obviously, the first time you have something is the first experience. And I remember the first time I had the Especial, I felt like I was drinking dirt, but not in a bad way. Just in a way where it was like I was drinking mud. It was just so rich, so dank, so heavy. It was just so rich. And I found that pretty interesting, but I didn't really stick with it, only because at the time my palate was pretty much underdeveloped for mate 5 years ago. But if people who appreciate things that are super rich, you know, super strong coffee, overbrewed green and black tea, this is probably something that you want to at least give a chance, Rosamonte. And if you want to really hit yourself in the face, go with the Especial. If you want to tone it down a notch, go with the Suave. And if you just want to stay in the middle of those two, go with the traditional, this regular traditional one you see right here.
Yeah, one of the things that I've tried that might help some people too that have this on their shelf and maybe found it a little too strong or overpowering is when I first did the Especial, I thought it was a little, you know, too hit you in the face too. But I actually reduced the load that I put in my gourd, and it seemed to, you know, to tame it down just a little to where you could appreciate more of the complexity of flavors. You know, it wasn't quite as, didn't hit you as abrasively, I guess.
I like that idea. So basically what you did was, you said you mixed it with another mate, or?
Well, no, actually I just increased the load of leaf in the gourd, so basically it's just sort of a higher water to ratio.
I see.
Yeah, and for me at least, it seemed to tone it down a bit and give it a little more balance. And for me, I think I could appreciate more of the individual flavors in it than when I packed a lot of leaf into my gourd.
Right. Hey, Jonathan, what are you drinking over there?
Right now I have some CBSé, some Energia.
Some CBSé.
Yeah, right here.
Show the world this bag. Yes, this is a great topic, actually. Tell everybody what's going on with this.
Well, it's got Guarana, which I really like. It's a good source of natural protein, just like what you find in regular your regular mates. But I find myself wanting to buy this all the time and steeping it.
Yes.
Yeah, I just pretty much like steeping my mates. But
How do you feel that energy from the guarana seed? Because I've been experimenting with guarana for the past 2 weeks, and like for me, and of course this is just my preliminary experience so far, I feel like it seems to have some sort of component to it. I think they call it guaranine. It's an excitatory compound. And it's similar to caffeine in nature, but you kind of have this sort of mental jolting effect. It's not considered like coffee or anything. It's still smooth, but it's definitely different than the quote-unquote matein, which really doesn't exist, but it's a good term to use for the combination of the chemicals in mate. Have you found that happening with this sort of mate with this guarana seed in it? Does it have sort of a different vibe?
Definitely, it's a definitely different feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always drinking mate before like a workout, especially this guarana really helps. So.
Yes. No, I was waiting to hear somebody else's opinion on guarana because I just started with it too, and I think it's pretty interesting. A lot of energy drinks they use the extract, which I don't really agree with so much, so to speak. But when you use the pure powder of it, the unadulterated form of it, I think that it could really offer a lot of natural, clean energy.
Right.
Oh, and Dave, speaking as someone who's drank, or not drank, but used a lot of, in Brazil they say guarana powder, I am almost certain that it's kind of the same deal with mate, where guaranine is just kind of a marketing term for the caffeine that's in guarana.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's the same sort of situation where they marketed matein as a chemical, which it really wasn't. And now they're saying guaranine is basically this chemical, but it's really not. It's just the effect like you're getting from the caffeine.
Yeah, pretty sure the guarana berry is just a natural source of caffeine, just like coffee or tea or matchas.
Can you talk about that? Like, in how popular is the guarana in Brazil? Do people really drink it a lot? They add it to their mate, or do they drink it straight?
The guarana powder, it's not. They don't add it super. They don't add it a lot. There are a lot of brands that sell kind of like a mix, like the CBSé. I know Cruz makes a blend. What Brazilians drink a lot of is the guarana soda.
Yeah,
they drink that more than water. So
it's true.
They have a soda. What is it called? Just guarana soda?
It's just guarana.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
All right, let's jump on over to. Let's talk about Pajarito. You guys know about this Pajarito?
Never had it.
Maybe so. Never had it. You like it, Steven?
Yeah, I like it. I like the Yerba paraguaya a lot. Maybe it's just because I'm a fan of terere, which I'm actually drinking right now. But I mean, Pajarito, that's what they grow it for. That's what they grow it to.
For those people who don't know or watching, what is terere?
Terere is basically mate, but you drink it with cold water instead of hot. And that's what they drink in Paraguay almost exclusively. So all the herbs that come out of there, they specially grow them to play well with cold water instead of hot water.
Right. And are you still able to appreciate the taste of the cold water?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times I feel like they almost make the flavors more intense because, cold mutes flavors, whereas heat brings them out more. So they kind of have to combat against that, so they specially make their herbs. That's why I feel like a lot of people who brew the Yerba paraguaya with hot water, a lot of times they'll complain that it's almost got very, very sour or very, very almost metallic notes, because it really, isn't designed to be drank with hot water. So they're bringing out a lot more than ever was really supposed to come out of the herb.
I agree. This mate, the adjective you use, sour, I think that's one of the best words to describe not only Pajarito, but almost all Paraguayan mates in general. They all share that same complex sourness to it, sort of astringency, sort of like a little bite on your tongue. In my experience, that sort of characteristic of your mate only comes out of Paraguay. I've never had mate similar to Paraguay mate apart from these particular brands coming out of Paraguay. They're very complex. Like I said in the last video, I don't recommend these mates to new. Maybe I'm biased a little bit, but I don't recommend them to new mate drinkers only because I think that it may scare people away. They're just so complex. You got a lot of tobacco, cherry, vanilla, whirls. It's kind of like this kaleidoscopic situation flavors. I love it. I think this mate is great, especially if you already have 10 mates under your belt, 10, 12 different brands under your belt. But for the first-time drinker, I'm not so sure if I would recommend it.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
I like the green taste. So Paraguayan mates really appeal to me. I have had the Pajarito and the terere, and it came out really well. And I think you actually get a slightly different nutritional profile when you drink it as a terere, do the hot mate wrap. I forget exactly what the difference is. And certainly I read that it brings out different profiles, like you get some things in a cold brew that you can get in a hot brew, and vice versa.
Right. What about you, Clark or Jonathan? You guys ever experienced this mate?
Never. I've never picked it up. Could never find it really in my area.
Mm-hmm. Clark, never had it?
Never had it. I've been wanting to try it, but I just haven't got around to ordering some. So.
Right. Okay, so jump on over to a very popular brand, arguably the most popular brand of mate in the world, Taragui. I'm sure at least one or two of you guys have had Taragui. Anybody? Any takers? Mark, not yet.
I've tried.
I've had the I haven't had the Desperado. Haven't had the what's the standard one that they sell the most of?
Taragui?
Yeah. Plenty of them. I tried the Desperado just a couple of days ago, and it was pretty good. That's the one I'm working on. Really in love again, though. I left a bad overall result, but nevertheless, the Yerba was good.
Yes.
And the energy of variety too. It's not got the most complex or delicious flavor you'll find, but it's a decent, solid mate if you're wanting a good energy boost. That's the one that I think they time the harvest where you get the most potent caffeine. I forget what month it is, but it's a middle of the road mate.
Yeah, Taragui is definitely a potent mate. Years ago when I wrote my first review on this mate on circleofdrink.com, I remember using the word rubber. I don't know if I just had a couple weird batches of it, or many other people have confirmed this too, so maybe I wasn't mistaken, but I definitely picked up this kind of rubber note, which kind of threw me off. And then a couple of years ago, I tried it again, and that rubberness seemed to be almost gone or mellowed out. So I think it's not a go-to mate for me. To be honest, I personally don't recommend it because I don't really relate to it. It just has a clumsy sort of taste profile, in my opinion. It's not really refined. It's not really elegant tasting. Some people love it. Like I said, this is considered the most popular brand, I believe, of mate in the world, arguably speaking. I would say if you're into mate and you really want to expand your palate, definitely try Taragui. It's just one of the brands that you have to try, especially if you're trying to get into Argentine yerba mates. Taragui is it is the most popular brand without a doubt, actually, in Argentina.
If you don't like polvo, that's dust, right? Yeah. If you don't like a lot of dust, the Taragui brands generally are a little low on that element.
A lot of dust, a lot of polvo.
Yeah, I'd put Taragui right in between Rosamonte and Cruz de Malta. I'd put it in between the two.
I like that, actually. Between Rosamonte and Cruz de Malta?
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Clark, you never mess with Taragui?
I've had a type of Taragui. it's like American. It had like English writing on it on the package. It was a type of Despalada, but
And
I
what does
wasn't really a
Despalada
fan
mean?
of it.
For everybody who's listening?
Didn't have any palos. There's no twigs. It was just purely the leaf. Which I enjoy with the Canarias, but with the Taragui is a little different. I honestly didn't enjoy it. For me, it was really strong. It was a little salty almost.
Yep.
Maybe I need to try it again, but I just wasn't a fan.
Was it the Taragui Vitality? Was it the Taragui Vitality?
Yeah, it was that kind.
Yeah. I've never had it, but I've seen it.
I'm not a fan.
I've never had it, but I've seen it.
Yeah, I need to try like just the normal Taragui to really get a better opinion on it. So.
My wife drinks a lot of the Taragui with like mandarin orange flavor. They call it like Cítricos del Oriente. It's got like an Asian bridge on the package. She likes that, but I don't drink much of that. She likes that.
Yeah, I find that with Taragui, a lot of people outside of South America, they don't really, in my experience at least, it seems like Taragui doesn't become one of the favorite brands. Maybe it's just designed more for the locals. I know in Brazil, like you were saying, they design mate for the locals. They understand the taste. So maybe this sort of taste profile the people outside of South America, who knows? It just my mind is not a very tasty mate. But to each their own. All right, moving forward, let's talk about what haven't we discussed? Nobleza Gaucha. Now this mate, I like it. I really like this mate. I remember when I first reviewed it, I didn't give it such a high ranking, but I don't know. My palate has changed, and I appreciate the breadiness of the mate. It's really bready. Kind of tastes like toasted bread, toasted oat. It has sort of a doughy component to it, as I described it in my review years ago. I think it's a decent mate. It may very well be the best mate out there for somebody just wanting to get into mate who wants to try additional Argentine brand. So I recommend it. I highly recommend it. Nobleza Gaucha. That's my take on it. You guys ever have it?
Yeah, I pretty much echo what you said. It's a good summary.
Oh, you agree?
Yes.
The bread.
Something that I appreciated from Nobleza Gaucha, which I didn't find in a lot of other Argentine yerbas, is it has a very clean and a very smooth finish.
Yeah.
I think that's something that really bothers me with Cruz and even a little bit with Rosamonte. They have a little bit too much kick in the back, but I think Nobleza Gaucha goes down really smooth and has a really nice finish.
Yeah, totally. It's super smooth mate. It might be one of the smoothest mates I've ever had, actually. I don't drink it every day. I probably drink it like once or twice every week or two. But mate that I relate to, I like it, and I recommend it. Smooth, just like you said, Steve. Okay, let's jump on over to Selecta. Anybody have experience with mate?
Yeah, that's one of my mates I could do with my days if I had to. And, it's not a mate that's going to have a superlative in any one particular category, but the balance is really nice. I sort of think of it as food in the mate world. It's kind of comfort food. It's not a real, to my mind, a real distinctive or aggressive taste, but it's a good balance. One thing I've noticed among people that don't maybe take to it right away is that first couple of cycles, I don't think you really get the flavor profile out of it. It takes it all to the room. And then you get the, what I think is the sweet spot, and you get a little more of a tangy, true mate flavor, maybe chicory note in it. And to me, just about the right amount of amargo. Some people say a slight bit of smokiness, but I don't really get that much. But overall, it's also got a pretty good heat as far as giving enhanced more clarity and music and all the typical things on energy boost. And then it's got a good finish. Yeah, definitely kind of feel of tobacco in your mouth after you had a few gourds of your swallow on the last bit. And sort of me, I know you're a cigar smoker, Dave. To me, it's kind of like just smoked a Dominican cigar with a Cameroon wrapper or something. You know, you get that little feel of tobacco, a slight taste of tobacco in your mouth.
Yeah.
And the green tea in stage two that you've written about, Dave, it's really present in this one, I believe. And when you get down to the weekly cycles, you'll get a distinct green tea flavor.
Yeah, definitely. Selecta, I consider this mate to be the sibling of Pajarito. I consider them very similar. In my opinion, Pajarito is slightly smokier, has a slightly more tobacco-esque to it. Selecta, I would say, it's sweeter slightly, smoother, and the cut contains more palos, more twigs, and broader cut leaves. It's not as ground up as Pajarito. But if you like Pajarito, any of you guys watching this, you like it, I would definitely say jump onto Selecta as well. I would say they're very similar, super similar. Selecta is a nice brand. It's from Paraguay. Again, like all Paraguayan mates, they have that complexity. They have that tobacco, cherry, vanilla, a lot of kind of complex flavors. Is it, like Steven said, is it a mate that's best served, you know, in a hot situation, in a hot gourd? Maybe not. Maybe so. If you like hot mate and you're prepared for, you know, an intense explosion of flavors in your gourd or in your French press, then yeah, go for it. But I tend to agree with a lot of Paraguayans and a lot of people who drink mate cold that these mates, at the very least, taste better with lower temperatures of water. So traditionally, water should be about, in my opinion, about 175 degrees Fahrenheit. It shouldn't exceed about 80 degrees Celsius, 78 degrees Celsius. If you go higher than that, you're kind of pushing it. But with this particular mate, I wouldn't go over 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 160 degrees Fahrenheit if you're going to heat the water. But if you really want to try it like how the Paraguayans drink it traditionally through cold mate, or otherwise known as terere, you'll probably experience it the best that way. Cold mate, just throw this mate in your gourd. You can throw some cubes of ice in your gourd, or your guampa, as they refer to it over there, I believe, and throw in your bombisha and add cold water, add some lemon juice to your water, and there you go. You can enjoy the traditional terere, how this mate was designed to be consumed.
Yeah, I think this one takes the warm water really well. That's the way I actually slightly prefer it. So I think it's, but Pajarito too. My palate may be just a little weird, I guess, but I like both of them hot as well. And that's one of the reasons I picked it as one of my favorites, because I can take this one either way. I've made with it, and I really like, especially the complexity at about 160 meters with it. That's what I always use. You get some good complexity of flavor after
Yeah.
you get the third or fourth cycle. You can really savor it.
Yeah, I agree. I just think Paraguayan mate is just super delicate, so it can't really be sustained in any sort of hot water.
Definitely.
Flavors just kind of become too bold, you know, kind of overwhelming.
Oh yeah, if you're getting a too bitter taste, you're definitely doing it too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the Selecta Premium. That's actually the only one I've ever had out of the Selecta. It comes in like a black package, kind of a glossy paper, and it's a pure leaf cut. But I really think you know, if you've kind of gotten sick of the Argentine or the Canarias and you are looking to branch out, Pajarito and Selecta are both good, solid, you know, beginner steps into Paraguayan Yerba, and then, you know, from there you can try either the Campesinos, They have a lot of the blends, or you can move on to like a curupi, which is another good like blended, or you can move on to like La Rubia, which is like the kind of the caviar of the Paraguayan mate.
Yes.
That's on my to-try list. I haven't tried the La Rubia yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Steven, you want to elaborate a little bit more on the La Rubia? What's going on with that mate? I know it's very popular. Many of us have had it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite herbs for terere, for the cold mate, and it's just a super small company in Paraguay. They have something like 20 employees. They only produce a very limited amount, and they sell out basically every year. They don't ever overstock. And I really like it because it has a very almost like a kind of like an almond taste to it, kind of a very light nuttiness to it. It also does have those kind of sour notes, but they're a lot more mellow. They're not as in your face. It's a very good cut. It's a very good blend, because Paraguayan herb tends to be ground a lot more fine than, say, Argentine. Not as fine as Brazilian, but it's kind of in between the Argentine and the Brazilian. And La Rubia has just kind of that perfect mix of polvo, of leaf, of stick, and it almost has kind of a natural sweetness to it that just plays really well. It's just really smooth, has a very nice flavor profile, but it is extremely delicate and is pretty complex. I probably wouldn't recommend it to someone who's trying a Paraguayan herb for the very first time.
Yeah, I agree. La Rubia is definitely that sort of caviar level mate, like you said. It's really delicate, a lot of complex flavors, and they don't produce a lot of it. So I definitely recommend it to people who are already into mate, who want to really venture out into more Paraguayan mate. But as a beginner, I would say no, stay away. As a seasoned drinker, I would say, yeah, jump on that. Definitely get on that.
And it's pretty hard to find in the U.S. I only know of, I think the only place I've really seen it in stock continually is GoYerbaMate.com. I don't know of any other site that carries it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where I've ever seen it. Go Yerba Mate. Yeah. Does anybody have? I think we discussed the 10 brands that I want to discuss. So if anybody has their own brand that they want to share with the world and want to kind of discuss about it, this is your time. Jonathan, what are some of the brands you've had besides CBSé?
CBSé, well, one of my favorite brands right now are Cruz de Malta. I've actually been getting into a lot of flavored mates, just because I like mate dulce, and right now I have this Taragui.
How is that? I heard some pretty good things about that.
It's actually really good. I had this is the maracuya, I think that's how it's pronounced, but I had the naranja Taragui. It was actually pretty good. This, surprisingly, it lasts pretty long, just the cycle, but I'm still experimenting with it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you liked it a lot, the maracuya?
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool, tropical flavors, and it's a good, pretty solid mate.
Yeah, because maracuya is passion fruit, and that's actually one of my favorite fruits, but I've always been too scared to try it with mate. I feel like the flavor wouldn't go well, but if you recommend it, maybe I'll go give it a shot.
Yeah. Can I ask you guys a question though? Do you guys prefer mate amargo, just plain, simple, or do you guys like flavored type mates?
Yeah, with me, that's my personal preference right now. Although I have gotten hold of a couple of different additives that I'm not sure how much they'll affect the flavor because I've only tried mints. Right. But I got some elderberries from Go Yerba Mate, so I'm going to try that, and a little orange rind, I think.
Nice.
And some stevia leaf. So those things I'm going to experiment a little with. But overall, I was always a black coffee drinker and a black tea drinker, so I just kind of naturally go for just the straight drink. So yeah,
Right.
right now.
How about you, Steven?
For me, kind of ranking them in the order that I prefer to drink them. Up top is just straight up, just just mate, no sugar, no other additives. Right below that, I like the mates that come with a couple of herbs. One of my favorite ones to drink that I'm actually drinking right now is the kurupi that comes with mint and boldo. It's for terere, but I know of people that drink it hot, and they say it's definitely a kick in the face when you drink it hot because it's got that boldo in it. That's very bitter, but they like it a lot. And then after the pure, and then you got the mix with herbs, and then I get into the kind of the flavored mates that have the kind of the fruit peel, or some of them. I don't really like the ones that have just kind of fruit flavoring.
Right.
They always taste really artificial to me. I like the ones that have like lemon peel in it, or actual like bits of rind and stuff. I like those. And then probably at the bottom is mate dulce, because I just personally don't like it with sugar. A lot of people do, and that's fine. I personally just don't like it. Probably because the first time I ever had it, I threw up. But so I took that as a sign that my body just does not play well with sugar and mate. I've had where you brew, like, heat up the water and then you add some stevia drops. I've drank that with like a Taragui, and that was like fine. I mean, I didn't like get sick, and it was a nice experience. But just me personally, unless somebody makes mate dulce and invites me to drink it, I probably wouldn't make it for myself.
Right.
Jonathan,
Okay.
I got one good recommendation for it if you like it with a little bit of the sweet. This will give you a longer sweetness with several cycles. It has some raw sugar in it. I don't know if they have it listed here. You might look on Amazon. I think it may be called German rock sugar. That may just be one variety of it. But if you get the rock sugar and put it in your gourd along with your leaf pack, it'll last you through several cycles. Because when I was experimenting with some sweet additives, I did, and that way you don't have to, every time you fill the water in your gourd, you don't have to keep adding drops or sugar powder.
Oh, okay. I'll give that a try then. Okay. Sounds good.
I just want to make one little
Have you
note.
guys ever seen those like?
Go ahead, Stephen.
Oh, I was just gonna say, have you guys ever seen those like self-sweetening gourds before?
No, what is that about?
So there's like a company in Argentina where they make a wooden gourd that has like, I don't really know how to explain it, but like you pour sugar in the bottom, and then the bombilla has like this like plastic part where like there's different size slits in it, so that you put it in, and then you put on the herb, and then you actually can move the bombilla to the left or the right, and then it changes how sweet it is, how much sugar gets into the water when you pour the water, so that way you can drink in a circle with people who don't like it sweet, don't like it sweet, like it very sweet, and each one can have their own preference by the way you turn the bombilla. I've never tried it, and the gourds are like $100 every time I've seen one.
Jesus.
So, but I was just wondering if any of you guys had ever seen one, or Dave, I don't know if when you were in Argentina.
Maybe I've seen one. I've seen these gourds with multiple chambers. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. I never really fully explored what the chambers were for below that gourd. Maybe that's what you're referring to. But I just want to share an interesting story when it comes to yerba mate or mate dulce. Is that when I was living in Argentina, and I started drinking mate and started drinking with a lot of the people in Buenos Aires, I would say there was 50% of the people who did this whole thing when you get the gourd, and before you add the hot water, they just took a little tablespoon, or a little teaspoon rather, of sugar, plop that in the water hole, the hole where you drink the mate, and then you added the hot water. So at the time, I kind of got into it only because 50% of the people I was drinking mate with were doing that. But over time, I began to really appreciate the amargo, which means just bitter, pure mate. And I still love just the pure mate. And to kind of answer your question about if I like mate with herbs, or how they say mate con chuchos not Portuguese, in Argentinian Spanish, and Paraguay as well.
Yeah.
Mate con chuchos. Chuchos just means herbs, basically. And the reason why I started to mix mate with herbs was purely from a health standpoint, only because I started to think. I was like, okay, well, mate is arguably the healthiest herb on the planet. Many notable doctors have claimed it as such. Has tons of nutrients, tons of compounds. I'm not going to get into that today, but my only thing was that I didn't want to just rely extensively on one herb to get nutrients from, to get these powerful benefits from, even though mate has so many of them. I come from somewhat of a self-taught scientific background. I studied biology, things like that. So when I started thinking about that, I was like, listen, well, cacao, the food of the gods, mint even, or goji berries, the most powerful berry in the world, acclaimed to have been the food where people have lived over 200 years. They have all these stories behind it. That's why I started mixing mate with other herbs, purely because from a health standpoint, I thought that was the intelligent thing to do, as opposed to just exclusively relying on mate, regardless of how potent it is and how powerful it is. So, yes, I do mix my mate with herbs, but it's mostly from a health standpoint, if I'm totally honest. Yes, it does taste great, and I love the taste of different herbs, but at the end of the day, every single day, I at least drink one serving of amargo, mate amargo, or in Argentina they say cimarron, which just basically means pure yerba mate of the gaucho. Now, going back to that beginning story of mate dulce, I once was introduced to this little book where somebody read it to me in Spanish, and it basically said that the gauchos, the tough, strong cowboys of the Las Pampas region of South America that spanned across Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, and Paraguay, what they did was to give themselves a treat, to give themselves a gift. They added sugar to their mate, supposedly, as the story went. That was their gift to themselves after a long, hard day of work of drinking just pure amargo mate. Sometimes they would just put a little bit of sugar as a gift to themselves to say, okay, well, we're going to break tradition and we're going to drink sweet mate. And I found that pretty interesting. Again, like I said, I'm more about amargo, pure yerba, bitter mate. A lot of people who get into mate, at first they're kind of thrown off by the bitterness, and then they go over to the herbs, they go over to the mint, they go over to the chocolate, things like that, cacao. But I would say many of those people come back eventually to the pure, bitter yerba mate. It seems to have changed their palate. Their body seems to accept it after it understands how beneficial it is. As opposed to just adding a lot of white sugar to your mate, sucrose, things like that, which may not be the healthiest thing for you to do.
Yeah.
That's the avenue that I approach it with also. Give me any kind of herbs you want that are healthy, but as long as they don't affect the flavor of my mate too much.
Yeah, yeah.
And Dave, first thing, interesting note. You said that they drink in Argentina they call it cimarron. Well, that's chimarrón in Spanish.
Yeah.
They come from the same root. And
that's what it is, right? Just pure bitter mate.
Yeah. And then I did have a question. You were talking about the mate con chucho. So in Argentina, do they actually mix the herb in with the other herb inside the actual gourd?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, yeah.
They have an herb called, don't quote me on this, it's called pomelo. No, not pomelo, that's grapefruit. Cedrón.
Yeah.
Cedrón, and I think cedrón is, I think it's a sort of mint. I'm not sure. I can't recall. I think it's a sort of mint plant. And a lot of people in Argentina who did use the mate con chuchos, the mate with herbs, did add that to it. I think that comes from the tradition of drinking mate in Paraguay and the tradition of drinking mate in Peru, which, believe it or not, people in Peru drink mate and people in Bolivia drink mate. It's just not as popular as the other countries. So yeah, people love their herbs. People who want to get into mate and don't want to experience the bitterness but still want the benefits of mate, I would say go for it. Purchase some mate with herbs, or you could even save a lot of money and go buy your own herbs and throw that into your gourd and make your own blends. Have fun with that. Why not? Like I said, I look at mate as a exquisite, luxurious. Not to kind of put mate on a pedestal, not to kind of make it mate the most prestigious thing in the world. All I'm trying to say is that you got a lot of people who are into green tea. They love their green tea. They love their gourmet green tea. They love their gourmet coffee. They love roasting all their coffee beans, full roast, dark roast, all types of roast, Moroccan roast. all I'm saying is mate, I believe, is in that same category. Don't discount mate. I really believe that mate, in my opinion, has more complex taste profiles than coffee and regular traditional green tea. Of course, I'm biased. I'm involved with mate companies. I'm involved with this community online circle we're all in right now, Circle of Drink. So, yes, I'm biased, but I really believe that if you guys really give mate a chance, people who are watching this video, it doesn't matter where you get it from. Just go buy yourself a pound. You could go to Whole Foods and get a pound of mate and get started with it, and just really give it a shot. Learn about the taste profiles. Come onto these videos and listen to what we're talking about. And I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised how enriching mate could be. Not only taste, but psychological benefits, which will probably be another video next week or the week after, where we'll just talk about the psychological benefits. But give mate a shot.
It's such a wider range of benefits, too. A lot of these tea people are, sure, you'll get your beneficial for the antioxidants and so forth in either one, but mate, it really provides more benefits, I think, a broader spectrum. I mean, for one thing, it's not talked about a lot because it's maybe not that fashionable, but it's like one of the mildest laxatives that there is, not insofar as, some kind of chemical designed specially for it, but just that, helps keep people regular,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's important.
And also there's that energy boost that the tea drinkers get, and then get a broader spectrum of vitamins and antioxidants in mate. So the people that are drinking tea for their health, they'll just look into it a little. They'll find that mate can give them all they're getting plus more.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's just ridiculously healthy. The more that I look into it, the more reports that I read about it, I'm just always shocked to know how powerful this plant is. Super beneficial, super tasty, great for your health. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, and just, kind of on the same vein that we're talking about and what I had asked earlier, I think it's really interesting, how in Argentina they add the herbs to the gourd. In Paraguay, actually what they do is they will kind of throw all the herbs that they want into a big mortar pestle and then grind it up and then add that actually to the water.
Ah.
So they have this giant, thermos or a giant pitcher where, it almost just looks like sludge because, they've smashed up so many leaves. It's just this really dark liquid, and that's what they'll actually drink their terere with. So, if they're, and because in Paraguay it's so hot, they drink terere pretty much all the day long. So let's say, Jose woke up and he's like, oh man, kind of have a headache, or, kind of feeling sick in my stomach. He'll go down to the chucharia, or, the apothecary. He'll buy the herbs that cure that type of ailment, takes it home, mashes it up in his mortar and pestle, throws it into his cold water, and, that's what he drinks it with, and that's kind of how they medicate themselves. They kind of heal their bodies with the terere and actually, add it to the water instead of the gourd. So I thought that distinction was actually really interesting.
Wow, actually, I'm happy you brought that up because mate, through experimenting with different herbs, nice little kitty.
She jumped in my lap.
I found that, and of course this is just anecdotal information, not FDA approved, anybody watching this, so just for educational purposes only, just to clear myself. But I found that through consistent use of mixing mate with raw cacao, C-A-C-A-O, which is really a bean that all chocolate comes from, and then you get all these other things that they call chocolate, which is not really chocolate, it's something else. But cacao mixed with yerba mate, for me, has been a remedy for curing headaches. That's just for me. I've put it out there into the world, and I've gotten some feedback from people who said, wow, that has helped their headaches too. I'm not surprised. Chocolate is very powerful. So is mate, so the combination of two may have these powerful synergistic effects. Going back to the Guarani tribe of Paraná, which arguably, or probably this is just a fact at this point, they were the first to ever really drink mate, to really promote it. This tribe of the Amazonian, well, not the Amazonian, the Paraná River, they actually use mate, from what I understand, as the basis for all of their medicine. Any sort of medicine that they were constructing, the shamans or the shamans, however you want to pronounce it, they always use yerba mate as the basis of their concoctions, of their alchemy, of whatever it is they were preparing. I find that very interesting.
It's smart. The caffeine is an accelerant in getting other drugs into the bloodstream. That's why Excedrin, I believe it's Excedrin, is a mix of aspirin and caffeine. They've done the studies that determine that the caffeine will cause the accompanying medication to affect your system more quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing. I guess they had a lot of observation.
They definitely knew what they were doing. And then you kind of have this witch hunt of a couple companies now who are saying that mate, and I like to share both sides of the story. We'll have another video about it, but let's just touch upon it since we're talking about the health. Some people who hear about mate, they look into this whole situation. They find out about the mate causes cancer. Mate has these negative effects. But I just want to make one thing clear on this video. There has never been any study ever published, please prove me wrong if you can, that ever showed mate to cause cancer. Never. There's never been any study that showed mate to conclusively cause cancer. But there's been many studies that have actually showed mate to destroy cancer cells. Many published studies, most notably done by the foremost yerba mate scientist in the world, in my opinion, Elvira de Mejia, at the University of Illinois. She's basically the mate mad scientist. She has funding, she runs a lab, and she has a PhD in food toxicology. And in her opinion, mate does not cause cancer. There's no association. The only thing that she could actually say that mate does, which could produce some harm, is how mate is consumed. If it's consumed in a very hot way, just like how you consume any ridiculously hot herb or coffee, then yes, you're going to increase the chances of perhaps having some sort of thermal damage, which may result in cancer. Or she also said that methods in which mate is dried and harvested and preserved and cleaned, yes, some of those methods do need to be improved because you can contaminate the mate with certain chemicals that may increase some sort of risks. But apart from that, just the pure plant alone, she, as well as many other mate scientists, all agree that mate does not cause cancer. Mate is actually very healthy for you. So don't be scared away from those Google results that you're going to get, when you're researching mate. In my opinion, a lot of that, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional. I don't have any letters behind my name, but I'm not scared to call out some of these doctors and some of these researchers who did this sort of faulty science, in my opinion, that kind of scared some people away from mate. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there because I do get a lot of emails from people asking about this situation.
Yeah, and if you actually, it's interesting though, because Dave, I wrote a paper when I was in college about mate, and I researched all those, kind of the cancer part of it. And the interesting thing I found was that all of the places that say, oh, mate causes cancer are basically people incorrectly citing these studies that say, oh yeah, if you drink mate with boiling water, you're going to have throat cancer because you're boiling your throat. Or, oh yeah, if you drink a lot of mate and you also are a heavy smoker, yeah, the combined carcinogens in an extremely smoky mate plus the carcinogens in regular tobacco use, yeah, that can give you lung cancer. But, people take that to mean, oh, drinking mate causes cancer. Well, no. If you drink hot liquids too much, it can give you throat cancer. If you smoke a lot of cigarettes, it can give you lung cancer. And they just happen to study, that behavior with mate. So people incorrectly, take these results that people have, that, these studies that, they're a lot of them are, fine studies that, but, they kind of twist the findings of these to say that mate causes cancer to further their own kind of campaign against mate. But if you actually look into the research, the studies really don't say that at all. They're just, yeah, drinking hot liquid will burn your throat. That's what we found.
Of course, and I think that, that's just common sense. Anything that you're doing that's going to burn your throat is going to expose you to all sorts of things that you don't want to happen. Drink your mate at the right temperature, try not to smoke, live a healthy life, try to eat good food, and I think you'll be all right. I mean, mate has been consumed for hundreds of years, probably thousands of years, and I don't think that there's any serious cancer epidemic going on in South America as far as I know. I don't think there's an epidemic of cancer in Brazil or in Argentina, not as far as I know.
Check the stats. It's right in line. There's no abnormal cancer rate or anything, even in the countries that consume it the highest. We're above So,
And it's very common for people to drink it into old age, onto the last breath. You know, I've met many women in particular who are 90 years old, who I've shared many gourds with, and I'm not just saying this to make a story sound nice, but I really asked them, some of them, what really, in their opinion, helped them to stay strong, helped them to stay motivated for life, and a lot of them said mate. You know, and of course it is the culture there, it is the tradition there, so they are biased. Obviously, they're biased, but many of them said that mate was a thing that they've been drinking since childhood, all the way up until their golden years of 80 plus years old, and they really believed that mate has helped sustain them in energy, in mental focus, and just keeping fit and healthy. And I've noticed that with myself. You know, I really believe that mate helps keep me healthy. I'm not worried of drinking large amounts of mate. I drink upwards of 2 liters a day for the past 5 years. I go to sleep like a baby. I'm not worried about a thing. I think it's healthy for me. So for those of you guys watching this video, definitely take note to do the research, read a couple of the real studies out there, not just these Google articles written by people who didn't cite anything. There's a lot of that going on. Always run away from an article that doesn't cite anything. Any scientific article that doesn't cite anything, I would say run away from it, or at least try to find the sources yourself. And that's it. What else can I say about mate and the cancer situation? We'll probably dedicate a whole video to that in the future, but for now, I would say just do your own research, and I think that you'll find out that no, mate does not cause cancer.
Oh, and Dave, really quick, just before, I actually will have to be going soon, but just one last thing on the cancer note. I know a lot of people, they will cite, you know, because a lot of the mates are smoked, they're dried with fire, so they will say, oh, since it, you know, comes in contact with smoke, it has carcinogens, therefore it's bad. Part of my paper actually was to compare the amount of carcinogens in a very smoky mate compared to other things that we regularly consumed.
Yeah.
And, you know, a bag of potato chips contains more carcinogens than mate because, you know, you fry potato chips in oil, the oil burns a little bit, it's got carcinogens in it. So, you know, it's a really, really kind of funny thing that they do with that. They, you know, oh, it has a small trace of carcinogens, so it's bad. It was like, well, yes, it has a small trace of carcinogens, but, you know, cooking something over a grill will give you more carcinogens. You know, cooking an ear of corn over an open fire will give you just as many, if not more, carcinogens. So, you know, it really is a kind of a twisted thing that they're doing.
Yeah, totally skewed. I totally agree with that. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us again on another Mate Circle, talking about great things. I appreciate it. I hope to have at least one a week. Next week, who knows what we'll talk about. If you guys have suggestions, definitely write it on the Circle of Drink page, and we'll get it going.
For
and
sure.
Salute to everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. This video will be on the Yerba Mate Land YouTube page. If anyone ever wants to watch it, it'll be recorded. It is recorded. And thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Salud.
Salud.
Salud.